Chapter 2476. You just said that Turtle Immortal was greedy for Fairy Pei's looks and intended to do something to her. Later, he wanted to kill her and seriously injured Fairy Pei, right? Tang Guo raised her eyes and looked at the Immortals. Everyone, that's what the 9 Brilliant Star official meant, right? The Immortals hesitated for a moment and nodded. What was there to be afraid of? Now, these two fishes were obviously not afraid of the 9 Brilliant Star official. If that old thing really wanted to find trouble, he would definitely find these two fishes. And judging from today's situation, he couldn't win against these two fishes. But I believe that Turtle Immortal wouldn't do such a bad thing. The 9 Brilliant Star official's eyes were still fierce, as if saying, do you think he wouldn't do it just because you said so? Now that his daughter was seriously injured, he didn't know how long she would need to recuperate. I know, words have no proof. Everything has to be based on evidence. The 9 Brilliant Star official vaguely felt that something was wrong, and then he heard Tang Guo say, this is the Heaven Realm, we definitely can't use force to solve everything. Even if we use force, we need evidence and a legitimate reason. The Immortals were a little expectant. Could it be that she could take out evidence? Unfortunately, I have a magic treasure in my hands, and I can use it to clear Turtle Immortal and Fairy Pei's innocence. This magic treasure is called the Time Reversal Mirror. Using magic power on it, you can see what happened in the past. When the Immortals heard this, they immediately understood. So she was prepared. They didn't doubt the use of this magic treasure at all, because the Celestial Emperor also had such a magic treasure. Although the name was different, the function was the same. The carp spirit even had such a magic treasure, they couldn't help but wonder if she had some background. The Celestial Emperor conferred her the title of Immortal Monarch and gave her this treasure land. Could it be that it wasn't because of the carp leaping over the Dragon Gate, but because she had some extraordinary background? They carefully searched their memories and found that there was no carp spirit among the ancient gods. However, they weren't sure. What if she had an ancient god as a master? Tang Guo had already taken out the magic treasure. Immortal officials, please check this magic treasure, lest you say there's something wrong with it. The immortal officials also wanted to see such a treasure, so they quickly came over and touched it. It was indeed a magic treasure, there was no problem. Then I'll cast a spell to turn back time. Tang Guo tossed the time reversal mirror up, and the mirror instantly stood up and became bigger. It was a bit like a big screen that existed in the modern world. It was enough for everyone to see the scene in the mirror clearly. Then, she cast a spell. Thick clouds floated in the mirror and waited for the clouds to slowly disperse. Everyone stared at it without blinking. Then, they exclaimed in surprise. This was because this image was not of Turtle Immortal or Fairy Pei. Instead, it was of a beautiful place. The image in the mirror was actually of a lake. There was a golden red carp spirit in the lake. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to be cultivating in seclusion. Everyone, I'm sorry. I rarely use this kind of magical equipment, so I'm not very familiar with it. That's why it's a bit too far back in time. This is when I'm cultivating. There's nothing to see. After saying that, she continued to cast her spell. At this moment, a person suddenly appeared by the lake. The immortals subconsciously looked over and were instantly stunned. Isn't that the 9 Luminary Star official? Why was he there? Was he going to do something? Chapter 2477. The immortals looked at the 9 Brilliant Star official, seeing fresh blood dripping from the corner of his lips. He was also staring at the mirror without blinking. He probably didn't think that he would be here too. Why is the 9 Brilliant Star official here? Tang Guo asked in confusion. But the immortals didn't believe her anymore. They didn't believe in her hypocrisy. They didn't believe in any mistakes or inexperience. They felt that it was all a conspiracy. This fish was plotting something. But it was plotting against the 9 Brilliant Star official. They were happy to see it. Although the immortals were thinking about all kinds of nonsense, it didn't stop them from watching what was happening in the mirror. Then, they heard the 9 Brilliant Star official speak. This carp actuary is the most perfect of all the spirits. Lure her to Sushi's side. I don't believe he won't be tempted. When he has a relationship with this carp spirit and something happens, he will never be able to get close to my daughter again. The immortals' expressions were complicated. So it was like this. Although they knew something, they really didn't think that the 9 Brilliant Star official, an immortal, would be so ugly scheming against a little demon. This matter was different when it was brought to the surface. Then, the 9 Brilliant Star official moved the carp spirit who was immersed in cultivation to the water tank of the ruined temple. Tanguo murmured at the right time. I've been looking for who moved me. She looked at the 9 Brilliant Star official. So it's you. The immortals didn't believe that you didn't already know. You're just acting for everyone right now. Say, what are you plotting? While Tanguo was in a daze, the scene continued. She met Sushi, saved Sushi, helped Sushi open his mind. Sushi finally promised her that he would pass the exam and marry her. Then, they bid farewell. At this time, Tanguo reacted and hurriedly changed the scene. Looking at the scene in the mirror, everyone was stunned again. It was still the 9 Brilliant Star official, but there was an additional black bear spirit. They saw the 9 Brilliant Star official heal the black bear spirit and order him to separate Page Yaren and Sushi. In the middle, Tanguo cast a spell to change the scene a few times. It was all about the 9 Luminary Star official meeting with the black bear spirit and ordering him to do bad things. Military Star Lord and Sushi were furious when they heard 9 Sparkle Star's official words. They weren't allowed to hurt Page Yaren. In other words, it didn't matter if Sushi was killed. Military Star almost went over and beat the old man up. I'm still not familiar with the controls. Only a ghost would believe her words. When Tanguo changed the image again, the immortals were all in high spirits, not knowing what they would see this time. Then, they saw Page Yaren going to the Dragon Gate to look for Tanguo. He also heard that in order to let Old Tortoise inform Tanguo about Sushi, she lied to Old Tortoise and said that Sushi had helped Tanguo before. Sushi didn't know about this. If Page Yaren and Old Tortoise had a grudge because of this, she was not in the right. Now, Sushi only felt that he was too ashamed to face Tanguo. Tanguo glanced at the 9 Brilliant Star official. 9 Brilliant Star official, children should be taught well from a young age. Otherwise, when they grow up and tell lies, it'll be easy for them to get into trouble. The 9 Brilliant Star official couldn't speak. In fact, he was about to die from anger. This carp demon was really too infuriating. So infuriating. He wouldn't let her go. Chapter 2478. He could tell that the other party did it on purpose. She deliberately revealed everything in front of so many immortal officials, revealing the truth. The last scene was the scene of Page Yaren asking the boy to trick Old Tortoise and fighting with him. The immortals watched the battle scene and broke out in cold sweat. Page Yaren's every move was fatal. If Old Tortoise didn't have a tough life and some life-saving methods, he would have been killed by her. Especially when Page Yaren said that Old Tortoise didn't enter the Immortal Bestowment Book and killed him. This kind of thing didn't look good on the surface. Everyone, the truth is out now. I said before that Turtle Immortal isn't that bad. The reason for all this was that Fairy Pei lied to Turtle Immortal first. Turtle Immortal told me about this at the Dragon Gate. I told him the truth at that time and advised him not to take it to heart. Just take it as a chance. The immortals, you've already said it, what else can they say? But now, 9 Brilliant Star official really couldn't do anything to Old Tortoise. In short, he couldn't do it on the surface. They glanced at the time reversal mirror. With this thing, no matter what bad things 9 Brilliant Star official did, wouldn't it be exposed in the future? Ha ha ha, they didn't know why, but it felt a little good just thinking about it. 9 Brilliant Star official, the matter is clear now. I hope you won't cause trouble for Turtle Immortal in the future. Otherwise, with so many immortals watching, you can't afford to lose face, right? Nine Brilliant Star official felt his chest explode. Why didn't he slap this fish to death back then? There wouldn't be so much trouble. Tang Guo unlocked the restriction, and Nine Brilliant Star official could finally move and speak. He took a few deep breaths and looked at Tang Guo hatefully. No matter how unwilling he was, he knew that if he continued to cause trouble, there wouldn't be a good result. Moreover, the other party was powerful. He couldn't beat her and was easily captured. This matter wouldn't be settled like this. Sooner or later, he would make the other party regret it. This matter is over. I won't cause trouble for Turtle Immortal anymore. With that, Nine Brilliant Star official turned to leave with his people. Tang Guo crossed her arms and looked at his back with a smile. Suddenly, she said, "Wait." The immortals who were about to leave immediately stopped in their tracks. Was the matter not over? They quickly turned around and looked at Tang Guo with interest. Nine Brilliant Star official, previously we settled the matter between Turtle Immortal and Fairy Pei. Now, it's time to settle the matter between us. When the immortals heard this, they almost slapped their thighs and jumped up. They knew that things were not that simple. Sure enough, this fish did not disappoint them. The Nine Brilliant Star official stiffened and was about to cast a spell and leave. Unexpectedly, Qing Heng had already anticipated this. He leaped over and slapped him back. Tang Guo slowly walked in front of the Nine Brilliant Star official and looked down at him. Nine Brilliant Star official, you schemed against me in order to ruin your daughter's marriage. If it weren't for my strength, I would have lost my life long ago, let alone become an immortal and attain the Tao. Therefore, we have to calculate this matter. What do you want? The Nine Brilliant Star official asked with some resentment. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't beat her, he would have jumped up and killed her. Tang Guo's lips curved. Don't worry. You are the Heavenly Realm Star official. Even if I kill you, aren't you on the Book of Immortal Bestowment? You won't die and can be resurrected infinitely. I won't kill you. Chapter 2479. After hearing Tang Guo's words, the Nine Brilliant Star official would rather Tang Guo kill him. If she didn't kill him, she definitely wouldn't let him have an easy time. He didn't know what she would do to torment him. Since you moved me to a place to cultivate, I'll move you to a place as well. Then we're even. Move to a place? Intuition told the immortals that this matter wasn't simple. Big black fish, let's send the Nine Brilliant Star official to that place. Tang Guo glanced at the Nine Brilliant Star official. Don't worry. As long as you come back with your own ability, this matter will be over. The Nine Brilliant Star official breathed a sigh of relief. He thought this fish didn't kill him because she didn't think she could kill him. She also didn't want to make a big fuss and be blamed by the Celestial Emperor. Tang Guo and Qing Heng bid farewell to the immortals. Then Qing Heng carried the Nine Brilliant Star official like a chick. The two stepped into the air and left. The immortals looked at each other curiously. Where exactly did she take the Nine Brilliant Star official? But they didn't have the courage to follow. They were afraid that if they angered her, it would bring trouble to themselves. Maybe she would make them accompany the Nine Brilliant Star official. That old bastard, he really deserves it. Military Star Lord said with a smile. I thought I provoked a small fry, but I didn't expect to kick a hard one. She looked away absent-mindedly. Tang Guo glanced at him before, but that gaze was very unfamiliar. This also made him understand that she didn't want to see him, not because she was afraid of remembering something, but because their fate had long been broken. Moreover, they weren't fated to be together. Everything was calculated by the Nine Brilliant Star official. Thinking of the Nine Brilliant Star official, he also thought of the seriously injured Pei Jiaren. Father, I want to see Jiaren. Go. Military Star Lord didn't stop the two young ones from being together. He felt very stupid. If he knew that the old thing would be so angry, he would have agreed to the two young ones being together. Maybe he would have been angered to death. Now we don't know when that old thing will come back. If you want to be with Jiren, why don't you take advantage of this time to get married? She hesitated. If I do this, won't it anger the star official? If you're afraid that he'll be angry, then don't be together with Jiren. I'm afraid he'll never agree to the two of you. Why don't you act first and report later? Leave everything to me. She thought about it for a moment. He also believed that the 9-star officer would not agree to his marriage with Jiren, so he basically agreed with Military Star's decision. She went to visit Pei Jiren and tactfully told her what had happened. Even if he didn't say anything, Pei Jiren already knew most of it from the boy. Hearing that old tortoise was still unconscious, Pei Jiren could only bite her lips, feeling a little indignant. When she heard that the 9 luminary star official had been sent somewhere by Tang Guo and might not be able to return for a while, she was actually a little happy. She even gloated a little. If he had not stopped her, would she have suffered so much? Of course, she did not show any of this. When She proposed to marry her directly and talked about the pros and cons, Pei Jiren agreed. If her father was here, she could forget about getting married in the heaven realm. When he returned, nothing could be stopped. Tang Guo was not surprised to hear that Shi and Pei Jiren were getting married. As for Old Tortoise, he had been living with her since that time. At this time, all the immortals in the heaven realm were curious about where she had sent the 9 brilliant star official. Chapter 2480. After Pei Jiren and Shi got married, the two of them did not live happily ever after. Pei Jiren tried to cause trouble for Tang Guo time and time again, but Shi was able to find out in time and stop her every time. The same thing happened once, twice, and 3 times. Pei Jiren felt extremely aggrieved. She thought that Shi could not forget Tang Guo, so she hated Tang Guo more and more. She even hated Shi a little. Actually, Shi still liked her. As for Tang Guo, it was probably because Tang Guo had cut off all ties with him, so she did not agree to see him even once. This made him feel a little disappointed. Pei Jiren had done so many things, but Tang Guo did not really kill her. This made Shi feel very guilty, thinking that he did not handle this matter well. Therefore, every time Pei Jiren offended Tang Guo, Shi would ask someone to apologize. Because she did not want to see him, he could only ask someone else. When Pei Jiren found out, she would mock and ridicule him. Don't I look like a white lotus? Look at them, they don't get along well at all. It's all because of me. Tang Guo, how can it hurt if they don't have a conscience? My talent is not bad. I just gave them some blessings and they fell in love with each other. Pei Jiren could not harm Tang Guo, nor could she harm Old Tortoise. In the end, she planned to scheme. At first, she thought of a plan. There must be people in the heavenly realm who coveted Tang Guo's beauty. She would let them pursue Tang Guo and hurt them with feelings. The person who was found hurriedly shook his head. Fairy Pei, I really don't dare. I can't afford to offend her. Pei Jiren found many people. These people were all children of high-ranking celestial officials, but they were all very cowardly. When they heard her plan, they all ran away. Later on, these people turned and ran away when they saw her. Once, she heard why they did not dare to do so. With Tang Guo's beauty and strength, many celestial officials were indeed attracted to her. However, even if they were attracted to her, they could not get her. Previously, there were many people who thought they were good and had indeed tried to curry favor with Tang Guo. Later, they were thrown out by a big black fish, who threatened them that if they dared to come again, they would be sent to accompany the 9 luminary star official. How could they afford to offend him? Pei Jiren's scheme had failed, so she could only find trouble with Shi. Shi was in a terrible fix all day long. He did not understand how Pei Jiren had become like this. As for where the 9 brilliant star official was sent, the people of the heaven realm found out later. It turned out that Tang Guo and Qingheng had thrown him into the sun, where he would be roasted by the scorching sun every day. She had also set up a formation. The 9 Brilliant Star official had to use his own magic power to protect himself at all times. There was no time for him to break the formation. Coincidentally, it was Military Star who found out about this by accident. Ever since he found out about this, he often went to the sun to visit the 9 Brilliant Star official. He would even bring some good food and drink and sit outside to torture him. He said that Page Yaran and Su Shi were already married and that they were very loving. He did not think that there was any big conflict between Page Yaran and Su Shi. It was just two juniors playing around. The 9 Brilliant Star official was often so angry that he vomited blood. Then, if he was careless, his body would be burned by hot flames. It was so painful that he grimaced and wanted to curse. Now, he hated Tang Gua and Military Star to death. He wanted nothing more than to cut them into pieces. Chapter 2481. The 9 Brilliant Star official was tortured for more than 10 years. Every day, he was burned by the scorching sun, making him look like a burnt man. This was the result of him using his magic power to protect himself. Tang Gua felt that she might leave this world. Qing Heng seemed to be aware of this. He stuck to her all day long and didn't want to leave her for even a moment. Okay, I don't object to you coming with me. Qing Heng didn't feel sad. His subconscious told him that this was the ending. After I tell Turtle Immortal something, we'll go to the bottom of the lake and never go out again, okay, big black fish? Guagua is right. He listened to her and followed her wherever she went. When Tang Gua and Qing Heng taught the card of fortune and card of misfortune to the old turtle and asked him to return them to Sky Emperor in the future, the old turtle was puzzled. Netcomputer, www. Tang Gua didn't reveal anything. She just said, when Sky Emperor comes out, you should quickly enter the Immortal Bestowment Book. It's safer this way. The old turtle was more and more confused. His intuition told him that it wasn't a good thing, but he still agreed. The big black fish and I are going to live in the lake. We won't come out much in the future. The old turtle was relieved. So that's how it is. Is she going to cultivate in seclusion? After telling him everything, Tang Gua and Qing Heng jumped into the lake and didn't come out again. The old turtle didn't know that when the time limit was up, Tang Gua and Qing Heng's bodies at the bottom of the lake gradually petrified and became two stone statues next to each other. On the day Tang Gua and Qing Heng were petrified, the array set by Tang Gua disappeared. The 9 Brilliant Star official sensed it. At that time, the Military Star official was still drinking outside the array and mocking him. At that time, the 9 Brilliant Star official was so angry that he came out and killed the Military Star official. The death of the Military Star official was noticed by all the officials in the Immortal Bestowment Book. They were all shocked and quickly gathered at the Grand Palace of Divine Wind. At this time, Sky Emperor also sensed it and appeared with the Empress. Celestial Emperor, has Military Star fallen? The Sky Emperor rubbed his forehead and took out the Immortal Bestowal Book. He nodded. It was the 9 Brilliant Star official who killed him. As expected, he knew there would be a bunch of trouble. The Empress looked at the Sky Emperor worriedly. While she was in seclusion, she also knew about the existence of the two outsiders. Just now, the Celestial Emperor told her that the outsider had left. I'll revive Military Star Lord now. Although Military Star Lord had been resurrected, his strength had dropped because he had died once. Therefore, the grudge between him and the 9 Brilliant Star official was even more unresolvable. The 9 Luminary Star official was busy trying to break up Page Yaran and Su Shi. He didn't dare to do anything to Page Yaran, but couldn't he kill Su Shi? Since he could still come back to life after dying, he might as well kill a few more times. Your Majesty the Celestial Emperor, Su Shi has fallen. It was the 9 Luminary Star official who did it. The Celestial Emperor said, I will revive him now. Your Majesty, the 9 Luminary Star official has fallen. It was Su Shi who did it. The Celestial Emperor said, I will revive him now. Your Majesty the Celestial Emperor, Fairy Pei and Su Shi have fallen. They died together. The Celestial Emperor said, "All right, I will revive them soon." "Your Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, Military Star Lord has fallen again." The 9 luminary star official and Fairy Pei worked together to kill him. The Celestial Emperor said, "Yes, he will be revived." "Your Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, the 4 of them died together." The Celestial Emperor said, "No problem, they can still be revived." The Empress, many years later. "Your Majesty, the Celestial Emperor, they have fallen again." The Celestial Emperor looked up and slowly opened the Immortal Bestowal book. He glanced at it and said to the immortals, "Send them to reincarnate. Even if they are revived, their bodies are as weak as mortals. They will explode." Calm. Calm the immortal officials, they seemed to have understood something. Heavens, it was too scary. The Celestial Emperor was so scheming. The Celestial Emperor held the Empress' hand and returned to the house. He let out a long sigh. It's finally quiet. Based on their current state, I'm afraid they can only reincarnate endlessly. They won't have the chance to become immortals. The Empress also laughed. These years have been really troublesome. The Celestial Emperor said, "Why don't you go into seclusion?" Shameless. After returning to the heavenly spring, Tanguo saw everything that happened after she left. The Celestial Emperor's actions made her laugh out loud. This Celestial Emperor is really interesting. He made the 4 of them lose their immortal fate without a word, and no one can find fault with him. Tanguo smiled as she lay in the heavenly spring. Suddenly, she felt that something was wrong. Do you feel that the heavenly spring is a little different? She sat up and looked in a direction. There's a different light in the water. I'll go take a look. After a while, she looked at everything in front of her in confusion. Why are there so many lights? I want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2482. At this moment, Tanguo was underwater in the heavenly spring. Initially, the heavenly spring was getting brighter and brighter, but she did not pay much attention to it. No matter what was hidden inside, she would find out one day. But now, the sudden appearance of these lights made her a little curious. The lights were red, and the material of the lights looked like colored glass. Dear host, these lights seem to be arranged one by one. The system did not understand why, but it was certain that the brighter the heavenly spring was, the better it was for the dear host. Okay. Tanguo swam towards the lights, and only stopped when she reached the end of the light. Although she did not deliberately count, she did a rough scan. There should be more than 20 lights. They were all exactly the same. The reason why she stopped was not because there was no path ahead, but because there was a path ahead, but it was completely dark. What made her even more confused was that she could not take another step forward even though it was clearly so close. Dear host, can you see anything? My scan does not seem to be of much use here. No, we'll check again next time. Tanguo looked at the road without any lights and said, "Do you think this road is the way out?" Where was the way out? Naturally, it was to jump out of the 3,000 small worlds and go to other places. The system did not know, but it felt that it was possible. I just don't know how these lights lit up. If we know, it should be easier to solve. It's already lit up so much, it should continue to light up. It's not that important whether or not I know why. I'll live according to my own way. Maybe it will light up. The system quickly agreed, thinking that this was more likely. Let's go to the next world. I'm looking forward to it. When Tanguo regained consciousness, she was in the car. She looked out of the car, and the scene outside was moving backwards rapidly. Instantly, she determined that she was on the highway. She looked up and sized up the car. Sitting beside her was a young man in his early 20s. He looked gentle and elegant, and should be a more gentle person. As if sensing her gaze, the man smiled at her. If you miss me in the future, you can go back. The man paused. Call me. Tanguo felt that the situation was very strange, but she still nodded. She didn't say a word and lowered her head again. Xiaogua has always been a sensible girl. Thank you for understanding our feelings. The man continued, ever since Mom found out about this, she hasn't been able to sleep for many days, so, I understand. Tanggua didn't know what she understood. Anyway, there shouldn't be anything wrong with answering that she understood. Didn't he say that she was very sensible? I won't change my number. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can call me. The man sighed. Xiaogua, I hope you don't resent Dad, Mom, Dad, Big Brother, and Second Brother. They're not targeting you, it's just that, actually, after so many years, they still have feelings for you. Give them some time, they're just afraid, I know. What did she know? She didn't know anything either. If she answered like this, there wouldn't be any problems. As if sensing that Tanggua wasn't in a good mood, the man didn't mention this question again. Instead, he fell silent. Peak. Chapter 2483. The man stopped talking, so Tanggua naturally wouldn't take the initiative to bring up the topic. Instead, she leaned her head against the back of the car seat, closed her eyes tightly, and began to take in the memories. After checking the memories, she finally understood why the man beside her said that to her. Because this was really a complicated and sad story. The tragedy of the story happened when she was born. She and another girl were swapped at the hospital. She wasn't the real daughter, but the girl who was taken away was the real daughter. Now, she wasn't called Tanggua, but Yungua. But soon, her name would become Tanggua. Because the Yun family already knew that she had been swapped at birth, they used all their resources and spent a year to finally find the real Yun family's little princess. No one could accept that the daughter they raised for 16 years wasn't their biological daughter. In the Yun family, other than third brother Yun Zishu, only the man sitting beside her accepted this matter well and didn't want to see her. The others couldn't face it. Everyone else was thinking about the girl who was taken away. They were busy every day, trying to bring her back as soon as possible. In order to bring the real little princess back, the Yun family held several family meetings. Yun Zishu originally suggested that they raise both sisters together, but now, Yun Zishu compromised and sent them back. It was better for them to go home separately. This was because they were worried that if they brought their biological daughter back, there would be many conflicts. Even if they raised her for more than 10 years, in their hearts, she still couldn't compare to someone who was related to them by blood. They were afraid that after Yun Yi was brought back, she wouldn't get along well with Tanggua. Tanggua was raised very well, but Yun Yi's environment wasn't good. They were afraid that Yun Yi would feel inferior, sad, and unable to integrate into the circle. She would think that she couldn't compare to Tanggua. Moreover, the people around them would unconsciously compare the two. Just thinking about it made them feel that the little princess of the Yun family was very pitiful. They were also afraid that Tanggua would dote on Yun Yi even more, and if she had any ideas, it would make all kinds of a joke. So, in the end, they thought that it was better to bring Yun Yi back and send Tanggua back. Tanggua had received so much education in the family Tang since she was young. She had enjoyed the life of a little princess in Yun Yi for more than 10 years, so her future shouldn't be too bad. The original owner had no objections to this decision and had no complaints in his heart. Apart from feeling very sad, she also felt that it was better to return to her original home when she saw how anxious and worried the person who had loved her since she was young was living every day. However, her return this time was destined to be a tragedy. If her family was just an ordinary one, then everything might have developed according to the Yun family's expectations. But her family was not that simple. It wasn't a coincidence that she had been swapped. Someone had done it on purpose. The person who had deliberately swapped places with her was her biological father's first love. At that time, she was a nurse at the hospital and happened to be in charge of the gynecology department. Under those conditions, it was really not easy to find out if he accidentally did something. Even the Yun family thought that the two of them had been swapped because of the nurse's negligence. Her biological father, Tang Liming, and his first love, Duan Yuhong, didn't get together because of her family's objection. The reason was that the Tang family didn't like Duan Yuhong. They thought that other than her good looks, she didn't look like someone who could live a good life. Vertex. Chapter 2484. At that time, Duan Yuhong's family was also against it. They felt that the Tang family was too poor and living in a village, so they couldn't have a hospital. Perhaps they weren't really in love at that time, but because of the resistance from the outside world, they still missed each other. As a result, Duan Yuhong hated Tang Liming's mother, who later married him. So, when she found out that Tang Liming's mother was sent to the hospital she worked in to give birth, she did it on the spur of the moment. It was just revenge. A few years later, Tang Liming's mother gave birth to a second child. This time, it was a son. Because of the son, Tang Liming and Tang Liming's mother's relationship improved. At that time, Duan Yuhong and her husband got divorced. When she saw how loving they were, her heart twisted. She felt that if Tang Liming's mother hadn't interfered, she would have been the one loving Tang Liming. So, she did something else. She let Tang Liming find out that Yun-yi wasn't his daughter. Then, Tang Liming went home and beat Tang Liming's mother, asking her who the wild man was. The matter was only resolved when someone in the village suggested that they go for a paternity test. Later, the truth was revealed that Yun-yi had nothing to do with them. Even so, Tang Liming and Tang Liming's mother's relationship couldn't go back to how it used to be. When Tang Liming's mother found out that her biological daughter was wandering outside, she kept trying to find her. Apart from taking care of Tang Liming, she also took care of her two children. Even though she knew that Yun-yi wasn't her biological daughter, she didn't want to mistreat her. But, she had to find her biological daughter no matter what. Tang Liming watched as his mother searched for her daughter like a madwoman and felt that life couldn't go on. So many years had passed. How was she going to find her in the sea of people? The conditions back then weren't like now, where all the records were clearly saved on the computer. Then, without Tang Liming's mother knowing, Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong hooked up. For something like this, no matter how well it was hidden, it would be exposed one day. Moreover, they didn't hide it. Later, Tang Liming's mother accidentally found out. She went to ask if there was any news about her daughter and saw the intimate couple. She wanted to rush over to ask them, but she was hit by a car and died. Mother Tang's death was a blessing to the two of them. Half a year after Mother Tang's death, the couple got married. A year later, Duan Yuhong gave birth to a daughter. Because the child of their love was born, Yun-yi and Tang Lin's days were not easy. Yun-yi was not Tang Lida's daughter. In his eyes, she was a bastard. It was already good enough that he could raise her. Therefore, no matter how Duan Yuhong rubbed her, he turned a blind eye to it. Although Tang Lin was his biological son, he had long been coaxed by her. Especially since Tang Lin had always been unpleasant to him, his father, it made him have no feelings for this son. Especially since Duan Yuhong had told him that she would bear him a son in the future. Therefore, Tang Lin did not have an easy time either. As Tang Lide and Duan Yuhong's biological daughter grew up, Tang Lin and Yun-yi's life became more and more difficult. That was until the Yun family used their resources to find this place. Duan Yuhong was afraid that the Yun family would pursue the matter. Although she complained about Yun-yi's good luck in her heart, she still treated her politely and even bought her new clothes. Therefore, when the Yun family went to look for Yun-yi, although she looked a little thin, she was wearing brand new clothes. Yun-yi had already been tortured to the point of having some psychological problems. Chapter 2485. After she was taken back, she had been silent, so the Yun family really didn't know how she had lived all these years. They were too anxious, so they didn't inquire about the family situation. They just wanted to take her back in a hurry. Later, Yun-yi slowly came out and told them what had happened to her. Their little princess was treated like this, so the Yun family definitely wouldn't let it go. So, they used some means to make Tang Liming and Duan Lihong suffer. First, they made Duan Yuhong lose her job in the hospital, and then Tang Liming had to take care of the family. And Duan Yuhong blamed all of this on the original host. But the original host was much smarter, so she figured out the character of this family in 2 days. In order to avoid Duan Yuhong's trouble, she performed very well in school. Not only did she often win awards, when she was free, she also used her own methods to make some money and buy a lot of things for the family. Although Duan Yuhong hated the original host, she could make money and she didn't have to worry about it. So, she could sit at home and enjoy the fruits of her labor, so she didn't scold her. With her own ability, the original host also made her brother's life much better. So, the relationship between the brother and sister, who she had never seen since she was born, gradually improved a lot. Her plan was to live here temporarily and cultivate her brother well. When he passed the exam, he could leave this family. The original host had a dream. Her dream was to become an actress, and she hoped that one day she could appear on the screen. So, her exam was very smooth. And her brother, Tang Lin, had good grades because of her teaching, and was admitted to a good school later. At this time, even if the family didn't pay a penny, she still had to send some money home every month. She didn't think it was a big deal. As long as her cheap father and stepmother didn't make trouble for her, she thought it was okay to spend some money and she could live a good life with her brother. But this was the ideal situation after all. Especially when she started to act and became an actress, Duan Yuhong actually wanted her to help Tang Wen and send her to the entertainment industry. Tang Wen was spoiled since she was a child. Her grades were bad, so she couldn't pass the exam of an art school. After graduating from high school, she casually went to a vocational school. Seeing how well the original host was doing, because of her beauty, she thought she could also become a big star. The host wanted Tang Wen to back off and let her know that not everyone could survive in the entertainment industry. So, she brought her to the place where the extras were selected and let her try first. But Tang Wen was a little princess. How could she work as an extra? After giving it a try, she gave up and insisted that the original owner introduce a character to her. The host had just started. How could she have the ability to give Tang Wen a role? Therefore, she refused. Even when Duan Yuhong came looking for her and Tang Liming came looking for her, she firmly said that she couldn't help. Later on, Tang Wen used some unknown method to get into this industry. Naturally, her acting skills were hard to describe. The original owner was very outstanding and had always been very hard-working. She was also very talented and became more and more famous. At this time, what she didn't expect was that Yun-Yi would also want to enter this industry. Yun-Yi was the real little princess of the Yun family. She had a lot of resources to support her since her debut. Even if her acting skills were immature, and she was even a little shy. Vertex. Chapter 2486. However, the Yun family had a lot of capital and they supported Yun-Yi relentlessly. Anyone who understood a little would know that no matter how famous you were, in front of big capital, you had to call them father. Yun-Yi was the little princess of the Yun family. She had a pair of parents who doted on her and 3 brothers who doted on her. These 3 brothers were all capable people. Under such protection, her future was naturally bright. In addition, she was quite hardworking. Even if she was a little lacking at times, there were many talents in this industry and many people with better acting skills than her. It didn't matter. People were still willing to vote for her and build a good relationship with big capital. Originally, all of this had nothing to do with the original host. However, their relationship had turned into that of competitors. Yun-Yi also wanted the role she wanted. Even if her acting skills were good and many people recognized her ability, she couldn't win against the Yun family. In order to support Yun-Yi, the Yun family unknowingly stole many roles from the original host. If Yun-Yi's acting skills were better than hers and she stole the role with her ability, she might not have any complaints. Many times, her performance was actually better than Yun-Yi's, but she still wasn't chosen in the end. After being in this industry for so long, she also knew that things couldn't be settled like this. If she couldn't get it, it meant that she wasn't famous enough, didn't have a strong background, and didn't have enough resources. But the Yun family was different from others. She was very sad, even if she didn't show it on the surface. But the Yun family's actions still made her sad. The Yun family created the best character for Yun-yi and gave her the best resources. Yun-yi almost reached the sky in one step. As long as she had her eyes set on a role, the Yun family would try their best to snatch it from Yun-yi's hands. The Yun family didn't give her face completely because Yun-yi later expressed her feelings and told them about the hardships she had suffered all these years. Even Yun Zishu, who pitted the original host, tacitly agreed to all of this. Their little princess had suffered so much. Of course, they had to bring the best things to her. Yun-yi was envied by countless people in this industry. Because she was too happy. Many people didn't dare to say anything even though Yun-yi had stolen their roles. In fact, it was because Yun-yi had some ability. If her acting wasn't good, the audience's eyes would still be sharp. Time and time again, the most important thing had been taken away from her. In fact, there was one time when the original owner won the Best Actress award. To her, it was already a done deal. But in the end, it was still Yun-yi who went up to receive the award. Because Yun-yi had just appeared, she didn't dare to take on roles that overlapped with Yun-yi's. She could only take on roles that weren't suitable for Yun-yi so that her roles wouldn't be stolen. The Yun family was too powerful, and she couldn't compete with them at all. Moreover, she didn't want to face them one day because of something like this. But how many of the dramas that Yun-yi didn't like were big-budget dramas with conscience? In order to act in a big production, she had also accepted many roles as the second female lead. She had also worked with Yun-yi several times. Every time, she could see the Yun family coming to visit her on set and putting Yun-yi in the center. Even if Yun-yi didn't envy her and always hid under their wings and protection, she still felt very sad. Tang Wen knew all of this. She had also participated in a certain drama. Chapter 2487. During the filming of this drama, Tang Wen couldn't stand Yun-yi, who she used to bully, being above her. On the internet computer, www.comso, she sowed discord in front of the original host. The original host didn't fall for it, but Tang Wen was unwilling and still played dirty. In the end, Yun-yi was injured and Tang Wen was caught. Tang Wen said on the spot that everything was ordered by the original host. Although the original host had a good character, some people believed that she didn't do it. But Tang Wen directly exposed their relationship, causing most people to slowly shift to Yun-yi's side. The Yun family even personally came to her and asked her if she was the one who did it. Of course, she said that she didn't do it. No matter how sad and helpless she was, she didn't want to hurt anyone. If something went wrong and someone died, could she escape punishment? No matter how sad she was, the Yun family and she weren't related by blood. She might sigh at the unfairness of fate, but she didn't enjoy the life of a little princess for 10 years. So, she really didn't think of using such an extreme method to attack Yun-yi. But no matter how she explained, the Yun family was skeptical. In the end, they didn't do anything to her and just asked the director to replace her. As for Tang Wen, she was directly banned and couldn't act in any shows. Tang Wen, who couldn't act, mixed in with the rich second generation, seemed to be doing well. But she didn't let go and occasionally targeted Yun-yi to create some trouble. Then, she would put all of this under the original host's name. When she was caught, she would say, "I just can't stand how you treat Tang Gua. For Yun-yi, you steal everything from her. You're too much." Phone/M. The original host didn't do anything and it should be Tang Wen, causing the Yun family to believe that she was jealous of Yun-yi and couldn't accept all of this. Later, many things like this happened. The original host couldn't explain it clearly because she didn't have any background and there was also Tang Wen who was dragging her down. In the end, the Yun family even talked to her in order to protect Yun-yi. They asked her what she wanted to leave the industry and could give her a large sum of money to leave this place and never appear in front of them again. The heartbroken original host rejected all of this. My dream is to act. You should know that. Therefore, I will not leave. As for whether she did anything bad to Yun-yi, she didn't even want to explain. She had long since given up all hope and didn't want to say anything more. She had already seen the attitude of the Yun family. There was no need for that. She thought that she could still realize her dream by avoiding Yun-yi's sharp edge and acting peacefully. But God had been playing a joke on her. She had been broken up. She had a boyfriend before, and he was from the same circle. Although she was very sad, she still agreed without crying or making a fuss. However, within 2 days, she found out that her ex-boyfriend actually fell in love with Yun-yi and guessed the reason why they broke up. After that, as long as she and Yun-yi appeared at the same time, the Yun family would send people to protect them. Sometimes, she would even ask the organizers to ask her to leave. Such a thing was simply a joke in the entertainment industry. Those who wanted to curry favor with the Yun family were also targeting her. She was about to wake up from her dream of being an actress. The Yun family didn't deliberately suppress them, but their attitude was too obvious. No director was willing to offend such a huge capital. Naturally, her management company was also unwilling to offend her. Thus, they directly put her out of commission. I want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2488. Without her dreams, she planned to leave this place. However, all of this was not over. Tang Wen was still unwilling. The bean sprout that she had bullied back then actually lived like a little princess and even stole the man she liked. So she played dirty again and instigated someone to kidnap Yun-yi. After the original host left the industry, she liked to carry a backpack and wander around. She did not plan to fall in love again. Instead, she wanted to live a peaceful life. That day, Yun-yi happened to be filming outside. It was at a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. At night, they could only set up a tent. At night, someone sneaked in and kidnapped Yun-yi. The original host's tent was not far from them. As if she heard the cry for help, she subconsciously opened the tent and went out. Seeing the figure leaving in a hurry in the distance, she knew that she couldn't go there alone, so she called the police and followed him secretly. Because she called the police in time, Yun-yi was saved. However, she was hated by Tang Wen. In the end, she was kidnapped by Tang Wen's people, killed, and thrown into the sea. In the end, Tang Wen's ending was not good. She repeatedly targeted Yun-yi and was finally dealt with by the Yun family. As for the original host who had already been thrown into the sea, no one cared. After the original host died, there was only one person who was sad for her, and that was her biological brother. Her biological brother had been studying all this time and did not know the truth at all. When he found out the truth, Tang Wen had already been dealt with and Yun-yi was about to get married. At this time, Yun-yi was already known as the movie queen. Tang Lin was furious. Especially after he found out everything, he placed all his anger on the Yun family. He knew why his sister had never made a move on the Yun family and even swallowed her anger. It was because she was thinking about those 16 years. She lived in the Yun family for 16 years and was doted on by them for 16 years, so she could not be calculative about everything. But he was different. His sister was pushed into the abyss step by step by them. In the end, she even died because she was nosy and was hated by others. So, Tang Lin became evil. From this day onwards, he used everything he learned to target Yun-yi. He could be considered the villain in this story. Whether it was the Yun family or Yun-yi and her husband, they were all targeted by her. Of course, he was not the main character and failed in the end. Netcomputer, www.com. After reading this heavy story, Tang Guo looked at the scenery outside the window that was constantly retreating. For a moment, she was a little absent-minded. This was because the people inside, especially the Yun family, were indeed difficult to evaluate. As for Yun-yi, she only enjoyed their love and did not do anything bad. Net mobile phone /m. The Yun family simply wanted to compensate her for the loss of money. In the entertainment industry, it was normal for them to use their capital to rob her. The original owner didn't deal with it. Instead, she complained, which was rare. However, she was a little unlucky. She was too soft-hearted and kind. Dear host, what do you plan to do? Do you want to take revenge on the Yun family? I was suppressed so badly, but she never took revenge. Do you think I can take revenge? Sigh, but this doesn't seem like your style. Don't take revenge. Just protect what you want and don't let it be snatched away. Isn't that enough? Since we're playing in that circle, let's see who's better. I have to continue fulfilling my dreams. In this lifetime, I'll get a few more awards. The system trembled. The host seemed to be very serious. She didn't take revenge on the Yun family, but the Yun family couldn't snatch things from her. Very good, very good. Also, take good care of your younger brother. Tanggua added, he's so smart. It's best for him to become a scientist and contribute to mankind. System, okay, you have the final say. I want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2489. 3 hours later, the Yun family's motorcade drove into the village where family Tang was located. Currently, the entire country was developing new villages. Therefore, this small village chief who was a little backward more than 10 years ago had now built small buildings in every household. Those who were slightly more diligent were living a good life. There was a road in the village, so the Yun family drove directly to the entrance of family Tang. Family Tang was also a small 2-story building, and there were many flowers and plants around it. The bricks and tiles of every household, and some of the details and decorations on the outside of the building were basically the same. Therefore, along the way, the village gave people the feeling that it was relatively clean and tidy. It was very comfortable to look at. Family Tang's small building was surrounded by a wall. The Yun family drove 4 cars over. Coincidentally, there was a courtyard outside, so they simply parked their cars there. Family Tang had received the news, so they were already prepared. Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong had been looking into the distance from upstairs. When they saw the 4 luxury cars that had never appeared in the village, the 2 of them hurriedly came down. When the Yun family called them, Duan Yuhong was extremely scared. That day, she brought Yun-yi to buy a lot of new clothes and toys. She even specially decorated a room for Yun-yi. Now, she hoped that the Yun family would quickly take Yun-yi away and not pursue so much. As for the reward, she did not dare to ask for it. If the Yun family stayed here for too long and heard any rumors, it would not be good. Xiaogua, we're here. Other than Tanggua, the Yun family members all got out of the car. Yun Zishu reminded her and patted her shoulder. If there's anything in the future, you can call me. I'm still your 3rd brother. Tanggua glanced from the open car door. The Yun couple, Yun Zimo, and Yun Zishan were all looking at family Tang's entrance with anticipation. But big brother and second brother are no longer my big brother and second brother. Yun Zishu wanted to say something, but Tanggua looked up and smiled at him. But it's okay. In these 16 years, I've indeed enjoyed things that originally did not belong to me. Even if 3rd brother is no longer my 3rd brother in the future, it's okay. The mistake has been corrected, so I should be satisfied. Thinking about it, when the original owner got out of the car and walked into family Tang's entrance, she must have thought the same. She only carried a backpack, clothes, dresses, jewelry. She did not take anything that she had received from the Yun family. In the backpack, she was carrying a high school textbook. It was still a little heavy. Yun, you don't have to help me. Yun Zishu looked at her smile and still felt a little sad. Actually, he didn't think it was a big deal for the Yun family to raise 2 younger sisters. However, other than him, everyone else in the Yun family felt that it was better to exchange them back. Tang Guo carried a heavy backpack and got off the car. She first walked in front of the Yun couple and Yun Zimo and Yun Zishan and thanked them. Then, she took the initiative to knock on the door. Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong knew that they were here, so when she knocked on the door opened. The Yun couple, Yun Zimo, and Yun Zishan wanted to say something to Tang Guo, but they did not have the chance. Chapter 2490. At this moment, they suddenly realized that they were too cold to her. After all, they had lived together for 16 years. At this moment, they were still reluctant to part with her. Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong were very enthusiastic. Both of them looked decent and didn't look like bad people. As long as one hadn't interacted with them before, the first impression would be that they were very easy to get along with. In the plot, Tang Wen wasn't here. Duan Yuhong sent her to her mother's house. She was probably afraid that Tang Wen would be exposed if she was here. Her biological brother was here. Thanks to the Yun family, he also received a new set of clothes. Actually, this matter was very simple. It was just that both sides returned to their places. The Yun family had already settled the matter of her transfer. Her grades were very good. With such a transfer student, the school was very happy to see her, so it wasn't a difficult matter at all. The Yun family had originally planned to pay for her entire high school tuition, but the original host refused. She was no longer a member of the Yun family. There was no need to owe them and enjoy their help. Since they were afraid that her existence would affect Yun Yi, she didn't want to accept these favors, in case she couldn't repay them in the future. It had to be said that the original host was very arrogant. The clothes that Tang Guo was wearing now were bought with the last bit of money she had earned. It was no longer the high-end custom-made clothes she used to wear. So now, other than this set of clothes and the books in her backpack, she had nothing. As the saying goes, a clean past and a clean return. Perhaps she was sad, but no matter how sad she was, she couldn't change everything. She couldn't bear to leave, but so what? None of this belonged to her. She didn't have the right to keep it. She had already decided. If she still licked her face, wouldn't she be causing trouble for her? As for her name and Yun Yi's name, the Yun family had settled it. As long as they gave the order, there would naturally be people who would help them with these small matters. Now, she was Tang Guo. Yun Yi was Yun Yi, and not Yun Guo and Tang Yi. Duan Yuhong hurriedly brought Yun Yi out. She was wearing a beautiful dress and her skin was white. Other than being a little thin and a little timid, there was nothing wrong with her. Because Duan Yuhong had been treating Yun Yi very well these days, Yun Yi's complexion improved a lot. Tang Guo had only met Yun Yi once, and neither of them had spoken. Basically, it was the Yun family and the family Tang couple who spoke. In just half an hour, Yun Yi was surrounded by the Yun family and carefully taken away. Tang Guo only glanced at it and didn't look at it anymore. Perhaps due to the deterrence of the Yun family, Duan Yuhong did not immediately reveal her true identity. She was still polite to her and sent her to Yun Yi's room. Tang Guo also addressed Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong politely. She addressed Tang Liming as father, while Duan Yuhong was naturally anti-Duan. She wanted her to call her mom. Dream on. She didn't even want to call him Tang Liming. However, he was indeed the father of this body. If there was a conflict, she wouldn't be in the right. Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong were not close to her. They just said a few words to let her know that this was her home, and then the two of them went back to their room. In that room, there was a rustling sound, but it wasn't clear. Tang Guo was smarter than the average person, and she heard the general idea. Peek. Chapter 2491. The two of them were discussing why she didn't bring any luggage back, whether she had brought a card, and whether the Yun family had given her a lot of money. Tang Guo looked around the room and placed the book on the table. Duan Yuhong must have spent a lot of money to set this up. She was probably dead now because the Yun family was in a hurry to take Yunyi back and had no interest in observing Yunyi's room. At this moment, Duan Yuhong was indeed complaining to Tang Liming. They didn't even come in to take a look. Luckily, I prepared so much. If I had known, I wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. That wretched girl really cost me a lot of money. Alright, this is also for insurance. If they were interested and really wanted to go in to take a look, wouldn't they be exposed? Now that they have finally taken her away, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief. If they pursue the matter, we really can't afford to offend a family like the Yun family. Duan Yuhong also knew that she really didn't expect the Yun family to still be able to find her after so many years. At that time, she also didn't expect the woman in the room to have such a powerful background. She was Madame Yun. At that time, there wasn't a single person by Madame Yun's side. How unlucky. She had let that woman's daughter enjoy 16 years of luxury for nothing. She was really angry. Liming, why do you think that girl didn't bring any luggage back? Wasn't she once a rich young lady? It can't be that she doesn't have anything, right? And that heavy backpack looks like books to me. He's dressed like that. Are all the rich people's lives so simple these days? Tang Liming hesitated for a moment. Maybe she brought a card. She's already 16 years old. Didn't the Yun family get her an ID card before? There must be a card. I think the Yun family wouldn't treat her badly. There must be money in the card. Xiao Gua is only 16 years old. She needs a lot of money. It's definitely not safe to keep it on her. Liming, find some time to ask. If there really is a card, let her hand it to us for safekeeping. What if she gets cheated? Tang Liming didn't object and thought that Duan Yuhong was right. Tang Guo wasn't interested in what the two of them were talking about. She could guess that they were probably plotting against her. Unfortunately, they were disappointed. She only had a few hundred yuan on her and nothing else. Tang Guo was sorting out the books when she suddenly felt a gaze behind her. She suddenly turned around and startled a skinny boy. This was Tang Lin, 10 years old this year. However, because of Duan Yuhong's rubbing, his height was not even 10 years old. He was even shorter and looked like he was malnourished. If it wasn't for Duan Yuhong's recent improvement in his diet, he might have been in a much worse state. Are you my younger brother? Tang Lin knew that his biological sister would be sent back today. It was said that his original sister was not his biological sister, but the daughter of a rich family. She had been swapped at birth. He and Yunyi didn't have a good relationship before. Yunyi was probably afraid of being bullied. Her temper was very weak. Furthermore, he was also powerless to protect himself. Basically, when the two of them sat together alone, they were both reticent and rarely communicated. Now that his sister had been sent back, he was still very curious. Previously, he had been secretly watching from the side and found that his biological sister was really beautiful. Although Yunyi was also quite pretty, for some reason, he still felt that his biological sister was prettier and couldn't help but want to get closer to her. Chapter 2492. Sis. Sister. Tang Lin was still a little shy, but he really couldn't help but get close to this beautiful sister of his. She told him directly that his biological sister was very good. Good boy. Tang Guo quickly walked in front of Tang Lin, touched his little head, and pinched his little face. Although this kid was a little thin, his eyes were bright and he looked very handsome. She thought that Tang Lin looked like his biological mother. With Tang Liming's character, could he inherit any outstanding genes? It would be good enough if he didn't drag her down. System, what a double standard. Although his head and face were touched, Tang Lin didn't dislike it at all. Duan Yuhong didn't treat him well and wouldn't give him anything good to eat, but she didn't really starve him for every meal. After all, if he really starved to death, Duan Yuhong might not be able to survive in this village anymore. But if she treated him a little harshly, the others wouldn't meddle in other people's business. Basically, he ate white rice with some vegetables, while Tang Wen ate either meat or other delicious food. Anyway, he basically didn't have a share of meat. In this kind of well-off life, it was rare to see people who didn't give meat for 10 days to half a month. But Duan Yuhong didn't give him any. Tang Liming also thought that he was disobedient and didn't inherit his excellent genes, so he didn't like him at all. He didn't want to curry favor with Tang Liming at all. In fact, he even hated the two of them in his heart. Not long after his mother died, the two of them got married. In the village, there were always rumors. When he found out that the two of them had been hooking up for a long time, even if he didn't understand it the first time, he would understand after hearing it a few times. Because he was disobedient and didn't call Duan Yuhong mom, Tang Liming disliked him even more. Basically, if he didn't like him, he would catch him and beat him up. Duan Yuhong would pretend to persuade him, but in fact, she didn't have any intention of stopping him. Duan Yuhong didn't beat or scold him, because it was basically Tang Liming who beat him up. Tang Guo felt that Tang Lin seemed to be thinking about something. He was only 10 years old, but he was already hiding everything in his heart. It was obvious that he didn't have a good life in this family. She wanted to take something out of her bag, but found that there were only books inside. She shook her head helplessly and took out a piece of chocolate from the system space. Of course, Tang Lin knew that it was chocolate. His good friend's parents often bought him such food and gave him a lot of pocket money. They had a good relationship, so they had eaten it before. As for Duan Yuhong, she would never buy him snacks. It was already good enough for him to eat. Why are you not eating? Seeing Tang Lin staring at the chocolate in a daze, Tang Guo stroked his head. There's only one piece now. When we have money in the future, I'll buy you more. Tang Lin was actually not as honest as he appeared to be. When he was younger, he liked to cause trouble. Later on, he found out that he would be beaten if he made a ruckus, and the person who beat him was his own father. If he got beaten because of his ruckus, no one would come to stop him. Hence, he learned to be smart and became taciturn in front of Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong. When they scolded him, he would go in one ear and out the other. He would do what he needed to do. He had already thought about it. When he was older and got an identity card, he would run away with it and not live in this family anymore. In the future, if he had a way, he would come back and take Yuni away. The Peak. Chapter 2493. However, everything was different now. Because of the wrong baby, Yun-Yi had been taken away and he had a biological sister. His plan had been disrupted. In short, he couldn't run away with his identity card when he was 16 years old. His sister used to live the life of a rich young lady. If he left, he didn't know how Duan Yuhong would bully her and if she wouldn't be able to adapt here. She came to this unfamiliar place. If her only brother left, what should she do? Tang Lin frowned. He didn't realize that his biological sister was already 16 years old and he was only a 10-year-old boy. He was thinking too much. Tang Guo didn't know what Tang Lin was thinking. If she knew, she might sigh and say that he was indeed her biological brother. He had so many plans at such a young age. Tang Lin sat on the stool and tore open the wrapper of the chocolate. Under Tang Guo's expectant gaze, he broke off half of the chocolate and put it into his mouth. It was silky and smooth in his mouth. It tasted better than the ones his brother gave him. However, he wouldn't say that in front of his good brother. That would be too disrespectful. Tang Lin handed the remaining half to Tang Guo. Sister, you eat too. Tang Guo didn't refuse. Anyway, with her around, her biological brother wouldn't starve. When he went to school, she would have a way to earn money. At present, Tang Lin was still in primary school. This was thanks to the 9 years of compulsory education. If a family's child didn't go to school when they reached the age, the school would specially call to urge them. Not only would the school call, but even if the child didn't go to school, the school's teachers would even petition to ask why their child didn't go to school when he reached the age. Duan Yuhong was a cultured person. She knew that if she didn't send her child to the 9 years of compulsory education, the hospital would definitely think about it. After all, she worked in the hospital and had been strict about education for the past few years. Instead of being caught red-handed and losing her job, she would rather send Tang Lin and Yun Yi to school. Anyway, 9 years of compulsory education was still relatively cheap. As for asking for extra pocket money, that was impossible. Therefore, even if Duan Yuhong doted on her biological daughter, Tang Wen, and didn't treat Tang Lin and Yun Yi well, the villagers couldn't interfere. Wasn't it just that they didn't give her meat and let Yun Yi cook and do the housework? Yun Yi was still an outsider, and the villagers couldn't care about these things. Most of them would turn a blind eye to it. Occasionally, when they were interested, they would talk about it and treat it as a joke. "What year are you in this year?" Tang Guan knew that, but she needed to communicate with her younger brother now. Otherwise, how could she kidnap her younger brother in the future? Tang Lin quickly swallowed the chocolate before answering, 5th grade. Chapter 2494. As for mathematics, he knew the basics of addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Therefore, his Chinese and mathematics were actually not too bad. But his final results were not very good. Their school also taught English. He learned some basic English from them, but after recognizing all the letters, he didn't learn anymore. What did he do when he had nothing to do? He picked up rubbish and sold it for money. His biological father and stepmother would never give him money. In order to escape successfully, he had to start saving money now. He was too young and no one would want him as a child laborer. After thinking about it, the only way was to pick up rubbish. Now that Tang Gua asked about his results, Tang Lin felt a little embarrassed because his results were really embarrassing. Just now, he even glanced at Tang Gua's test paper on the table. Although he did not understand the questions on it, he could still understand those with high marks. He could tell at a glance that she had scored full marks for mathematics. So, he euphemistically said that her results were average. Tang Gua could tell that Tang Lin's results were a little bad at first. In the end, it was the original owner of the body who slowly helped him improve. This was also because Tang Lin was smart enough. In addition, he was only in the 5th grade now. It was not too late. "Lin, you have to study hard and get into a good school in the future." Tang Lin was stunned. Get into a good school? He pursed his lips. Even if he got into a good school, Duan Yuhong might not be willing to let him study there. Maybe when he graduated from junior high school or high school, they would have the opportunity to let him work or learn skills. This kind of situation was normal in the village. There were only a few outstanding children in the village. Not every child could go to university. But since Tang Gua had said this, Tang Lin did not want to disappoint her. He nodded subconsciously. "Sister, I will definitely study hard." "Then study now. If you don't understand, you can ask me. Don't waste time and talent." Tang Gua's hands were itching. In the future, when her brother became a big boss in the academic world, would she be able to slack off? "System, the host has changed. You have become someone he does not recognize." Tang Lin was a little dumbfounded. Study now? He had originally planned to take advantage of this good time to pick up rubbish. Although he had saved some money, he now had a sister. His sister only brought her school bag back, so she probably didn't have much money, so he had to save up his sister's share. His sister's grades seemed to be very good. Tang Lin frowned. She would definitely be able to get into university in the future. However, Duan Yuhong and Tang Liming most likely wouldn't help her pay for the school fees, so she could only rely on her younger brother. Going to university must cost a lot of money, right? However, she had heard that after she went to university, she would be able to find a good job and earn a lot of money. Her sister would also be able to leave this place. Although Tang Lin still wanted to pick up rubbish to sell, Tang Guo's voice seemed to have magic. He did whatever she asked him to do. At this moment, the two siblings were in their own rooms. Tang Guo was doing practice questions with Tang Lin. Tang Lin originally thought that he would only take out the textbook and his sister would let him read more. He never expected that his sister would flip through the teaching materials, take out a book, and give him a question. If you don't know how to do it, flip through the book and look at the example questions. If you still don't understand the example questions, you can ask me. What a serious sister. But he couldn't refuse. Since he was young, other than the teacher, this was the first time someone had asked him to do his homework so attentively. Peak. Chapter 2495. The first meal after returning to the family Tang was braised by Duan Yu. Tang Wen had not been picked up yet. Today was Saturday, so she would probably be picked up tomorrow. Tang Wen was 2 years younger than Tang Lin. She was 9 years old this year and was in the 3rd grade. This meal was quite sumptuous. Duan Yuhong's cooking was average. Perhaps it was because she did not cook often. After all, Yun Yi was the one who cooked previously. Duan Yuhong was also a nurse and had to work shifts, so she rarely had the chance to cook at home. If Yun Yi was not around, Tang Liming would be the one to cook. After eating, Duan Yuhong took the bowls and chopsticks into the kitchen to wash. If she did not have a motive, she would not be so diligent. However, Tang Liming said to Tang Lin with a straight face, "Hurry back to your room after eating?" This time, Tang Lin did not move. He was a little afraid that Tang Liming would bully his sister. How could he leave at this time? However, Tang Guo patted his head. "Go ahead and finish the homework your sister gave you." Tang Lin did not want to go in, but he did not want his sister to be angry, so he could only obey. However, he did not really go back to his room. Instead, he hid in a corner. If something went wrong later, he would come out to protect his sister. "Xiao Gua, you just got home. Are you adapting well?" Tang Gua nodded. "Everything is fine. Dad knows that you were used to a good life in the past. You might not be able to adapt so well here, but this is the situation in our family. You should understand, right?" "I understand. Dad, don't worry. I'll slowly adapt. After all, I'm not a real rich missy. Actually, an ordinary life is not bad. I'll work hard in school and fight for a future for myself." Tang Liming nodded, looking relieved. "Xiao Gua is so sensible. Yes, you're not a real rich missy." After a pause, he asked, "So, Xiao Gua, you didn't take the Yun family's money and leave, right? Let me tell you, although our family is not that rich, they don't owe us anything, so you can't take those things. If you really took it, you have to hand it over and Dad will return it to them." Tang Gua smiled coldly in her heart. No wonder he was so enthusiastic. It turned out that he wanted to coax something from her hands. "Dad, I didn't take anything from the Yun family. In the past, they sold me all kinds of gold, silver, and jewelry. Whether it was jade pendants worth millions or small toys worth a few hundred yuan, I didn't take any of it." Tang Gua smiled and pointed at her clothes. "When I heard that I wasn't the biological daughter of the Yun family, I bought 2 sets of these ordinary clothes. They cost dozens of yuan each. I didn't bring any of the custom-made clothes that cost tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. Dad, if you don't believe me, you can search my bag. I only brought a change of clothes. The rest are all books and my ID card." As for the awards and trophies I received in the past, I took a few photos as a souvenir. After all, some trophies were made of gold and silver. The things I obtained were all nurtured by the Yun family, so I didn't bring them back. "Dad, look, my shoes are also very ordinary. They cost 50 yuan a pair. I found my backpack on the internet. It costs 60 yuan. It's a random brand. It's very convenient to store things, and the quality is not bad. It's quite practical. Don't worry, the money I used to buy these was earned from my part-time job on the weekends. When Tang Liming heard Tang Guo's words, his face twitched. He didn't want to believe it, but Tang Guo looked like she was telling the truth. The smug expression on the little girl's face made him want to vomit blood. Duan Yuhong, who was eavesdropping in the kitchen, almost vomited blood when she heard that she didn't bring the jade pendants worth millions and custom-made clothes worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Tang Liming paused and asked, "What about the money? Did you take any money from them?" "No, Dad. Didn't I change my ID card? I returned all the money in the card to them and cancelled all the cards. I also cancelled Taobao's account. I don't have money now, so I can only apply for it in the future." Peak. Chapter 2496. Xiaogua, you're not a good kid when you lie. Tang Liming paused and finally suppressed his anger. He still couldn't believe that Tang Guo didn't bring anything back. Even if she didn't take it with her, didn't the Yun family think of giving her something? After all, they had raised her for 16 years. They couldn't be so heartless, right? Actually, after the Yun family found out about this, they became busy discussing how to bring Yunyi back. Yun Zishu was the only one who was more concerned about Tang Guo. The others seemed to have subconsciously ignored this problem. Tang Guo didn't bring any luggage back and they didn't force her because they didn't know that Tang Guo really didn't take anything with her. Even if Tang Guo took the money they gave her and the expensive things they bought, they wouldn't say anything. Moreover, they had to get someone to pack those things before bringing Yunyi back. They definitely couldn't give them to Yunyi, not even if she saw them. They were afraid that if they saw the things, they would think of her and hurt Yunyi, who had led a wandering life since she was young. Only Yun Zishu asked Tang Guo if he could get someone to send those things to her later. When Tang Guo came back with only a backpack, the Yun family actually heaved a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Tang Guo would bring everything back on the same day. They didn't know if Yunyi would be sad if she saw it. Now, their minds were filled with how much Yunyi had suffered outside and how they had to make it up to her. They completely ignored the obedient Tang Guo who had been obedient since she was young. Although Yun Zishu didn't feel good, he couldn't stop them. If he really said it, the whole family would think that he didn't love his biological sister. If his biological sister found out, she would be very sad. "Dad, why don't you come back to the room with me? If you don't believe me, you can go in and check. Dad is just worried that you took other people's things, so I have to check." Tang Liming didn't care about his pride. Since he had already said this, he wouldn't be at ease if he didn't check it himself. He really didn't believe that Tang Guo didn't bring anything back. In the room, Tang Guo pointed to the backpack on the table. "Dad, you can check it yourself. I really didn't hide anything." As for the hundreds of dollars that the original owner had on her, she had put them all into the system space. She only had a few dozen dollars left on her. Even if Tang Liming poked a hole in her backpack, he wouldn't find anything good. Tang Liming flipped through the book very carefully. He even flipped through every single page of the book. He had no idea that the way he checked Tang Guo's backpack was extremely ugly. Tang Lin hid at the door and stood there expressionlessly watching the scene. Sure enough, his sister was bullied as soon as she returned. Tang Lin clenched his fists. He had to work hard to pick up more trash. When he could get an ID card, he would be able to earn money to support his sister's university studies. Tang Guo glanced at the door and almost laughed when she saw Tang Lin's angry and serious face. He didn't know what strange things were going through this kid's mind right now. After the backpack was rummaged through, Tang Liming finally put down the backpack in a daze and gripped it tightly. Just as he was about to break down, Tang Guo's little face lit up with a smile. "Dad, you should be relieved now, right? I really don't dare to take other people's things." Chapter 2497. I have my own hands and feet. I will fight for everything myself in the future. I believe that Dad's careful inspection is because you don't want me to reap without sowing and take advantage of others. Dad, don't worry. I will listen to you. I won't take advantage of others. In the future, I will walk step by step on the ground. I'm really happy that I have such a good dad. System, host, that's enough. Look, your dad is about to die of anger. Don't shrink back. Tang Liming was indeed about to die of anger. However, Tang Guo's face was full of smiles. She even praised him and promised him that she wouldn't take other people's things. She even looked as if she was proud to have a dad like him. At this moment, his mood was as if he had been a beggar for a lifetime and was finally able to eat a piece of red braised pork. However, after eating the red braised pork, someone told him that the red braised pork was covered with a layer of feces and he couldn't spit it out even if he wanted to. He couldn't help but recall the delicious taste of the red braised pork. The father and daughter returned downstairs and sat in the living room. Tang Liming was obviously very angry, but he still had to show a gratified smile. The reason why he treated Tang Guo differently from Yun Yi was that Yun Yi grew up here. She had always been a pushover and was not his child. Of course, he didn't care about her life or death. However, Tang Guo had lived the life of a rich young lady since childhood. In fact, in front of her, he, a rough man, was quite frightened. He was different from Duan Yuhong. He didn't continue to go to school after graduating from junior high school. Duan Yuhong went to medical school and later became a nurse in the hospital. In fact, in front of him, Tang Guo was completely different from a village girl. He didn't know how to handle her. Moreover, he didn't know the Yun family's attitude. If they really did something to her, she could just call them back. Who knew what the Yun family would do? The reason why the original owner was bullied by this family was that she thought that she could just take some money to send them away. However, she didn't know that when she was still a high school student, she took money home. This gave Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong a way out. Since she could take out money, why didn't they accept it and even take more money from her? Shameless people had no bottom line and no face. Don't even think about making a one-time deal with such a person. As long as there was a transaction, the other party would be like a sticky candy, sticking to you so tightly that you couldn't even pull it off. Even if the original owner didn't get involved with the Yun family, if she had stuck to her bottom line and didn't give the family any money, these two people wouldn't have dared to do anything to her. This was because they didn't know the Yun family's attitude towards her. Moreover, the aura of a rich young lady emanating from her body was enough to make people shudder. Perhaps it was because of the environment she grew up in and her age, but she did not know how difficult it was to deal with such a shameless person. To deal with this kind of foot-binding cloth, one couldn't give any benefits. Giving any benefits would be equivalent to lowering one's bottom line. As the saying goes, the shameless are afraid of those who don't care about their lives. The one who would cower would definitely be the other party. Of course, he still had to put in some effort. Duan Yuhong could tell from Tang Liming's expression that he didn't find anything. Her face immediately darkened. Could it be that they really didn't bring anything back? When she thought of the custom-made dresses, clothes, and jade pendants that were worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands that Tang Guo had mentioned before, her heart ached terribly. Chapter 2498. Any of these things would be enough to buy a house in the county. But this wretched girl really didn't bring back a single one. Her heart really ached, but she could only smile. Xiao Guo is really a very sensible child. She knows that it's not good to take other people's things. I was worried before that I wouldn't get along well with my family. Now that I see Dad and Auntie Duan, I believe that our family will get better and better. Tang Guo smiled. Auntie Duan is really the same as I imagined a village woman to be. Hardworking, down-to-earth, considerate, has a nice voice, looks good, and the food she cooks is also delicious. When I think about how I can eat Auntie Duan's food every day, I feel very happy. Although there are no days of glory and wealth, it's my fortune to be able to live in such a warm family. System, host, enough, enough. They're really going to be angered to death. Duan Yuhong's smile was a little stiff. She didn't know how to respond. What did she mean by the same as a village woman? She was from the city. She was quite lively, down to earth, considerate, had a nice voice, and looked good. Those were her strengths. But when these words came out of this wretched girl's mouth, she felt a little uncomfortable. She even said that she wanted to eat her food every day. Duan Yuhong almost scolded her. You lazy girl, of course you have to cook. But then she thought about it. Tang Guo was a rich young miss. She glanced at her pair of jade white hands and was afraid that she didn't know how to cook. Since Xiao Guo likes to eat Auntie's food, Auntie will teach you this special skill someday. When you want to eat it, you can cook it yourself. Really? Tang Guo was a little surprised. Auntie Duan is really willing to teach me? Her eyes suddenly dimmed. When I was in the Yun family, I also wanted to learn how to cook. They even invited many chefs to teach me, but I didn't seem to have learned. From then on, they even refused to let me into the kitchen. Auntie Duan, so you're really willing to teach me? Hearing the first half of Tang Guo's words, Duan Yuhong's heart thumped. Could it be that this wretched girl couldn't learn? In the end, she gritted her teeth. She didn't believe that there were people in this world who couldn't cook. If they couldn't cook once, then she would teach them a few more times. At that time, he could even use the excuse of practicing his culinary skills to have this girl cook for him every day. After Yuni left, this girl was not bad to replace her. Right now, she was no longer the daughter of a rich family. A gentle smile appeared on Duan Yuhong's face. Of course, since you've returned to this home, you're also my daughter. If you want to learn these things, I'll teach you. Auntie will not only teach you how to cook, but she will also teach you how to clean the house, wash the clothes, and mop the floor. In an ordinary family like ours, you will definitely have to learn. Our family also planted some land. When the time comes, Auntie will teach you how to plant and harvest crops. Auntie, you're really a good person. Duan Yuhong sneered in her heart. She didn't know whether it was good or not. She only knew that if she taught this girl everything, there would be another Yun Yi in the family. Who cares if you're the daughter of a rich family? When you come back here, you're still a village girl. You have to do what you have to do. Tang Guo's lips curved into a faint smile. No matter how strong you are, no matter how much you teach, if she doesn't know how to do it, she doesn't know how to do it. Could it be that this woman could turn her into a marionette and make her do these things? Chapter 2499. Xiao Gua, I'll teach you how to cook tomorrow. It's the easiest. After you learn how to cook, I'll teach you the rest. Okay, Auntie Duan. I think I'm too stupid, so let's wake up earlier tomorrow to learn. Tang Guo was looking forward to it. How about we wake up at 4? I'm afraid I won't be able to learn and will delay everyone's breakfast. Duan Yuhong was stunned. 4 o'clock? That was too early. This week happened to be her vacation. It was rare for her to have such time. She wanted to sleep in until 9 or 10 o'clock. As for breakfast, she would let Tang Liming cook some noodles. After lunch, she still had to pick up Tang Wen. However, seeing Tang Guo's expectant look, she also wanted to teach this girl as soon as possible. Then, there would be someone to take over all the chores at home. After thinking about it, she agreed. Okay, then we'll wake up at 4 o'clock. If the system had a face, it really wanted to cover its face. Why did it feel like it was watching a palace drama? There was another person who was also very shocked by all of this. This person was naturally worried about Tang Guo. He was afraid that she would be bullied, so he hid at the side and secretly watched. He originally thought that Tang Guo would be bullied, but he didn't expect that she would be able to chat happily with that couple. Although his sister said that she wanted to learn how to cook, why did he feel that the scene just now was a little strange? Moreover, he also saw that the couple's faces were about to turn green when they heard his sister say that she didn't bring anything back. This was the first time he saw them being so aggrieved. Tang Lin's eyes became brighter and brighter. He felt that his biological sister was smarter. Duan Yuhong and Tang Liming thought that there would be no results if they continued to torment Tang Gua, so they simply let her go and rest. This village was a new village. Except for not having a luxurious life since childhood, it was actually quite convenient. In summer, there was a solar water heater, and in winter, there was also an electric water heater. Especially since Duan Yuhong was also used to enjoying life. Her family had to have what others had. Tang Gua took a shower and went to sleep. Tomorrow, he would have to wake up at 4:00 to torture Duan Yuhong. It was only 8 o'clock now. He would sleep from 8:00 to 4:00. 8 hours was enough. Duan Yuhong, on the other hand, wouldn't go to bed so early. Nowadays, the mobile internet was relatively advanced. Even if she didn't play these games, she probably wouldn't be able to sleep after everything that had happened today. As Tang Guo expected, Duan Yuhong went to bed at 11:00. She tossed and turned and didn't fall asleep until 2:00. Because he had set an alarm before, the alarm rang at 4:00 sharp. Duan Yuhong was sleepy. She was ready to turn off the alarm clock and go back to sleep. As for teaching Tang Gua how to cook, she would do it another day. She was really sleepy. Auntie Duan, are you up? I heard your alarm go off. You should be awake, right? Tang Gua's voice sounded like a ghost from outside the door. Duan Yuhong woke up with a start, but her eyelids were still heavy. She was extremely sleepy. After about a minute, Tang Gua's voice sounded again. Auntie Duan, if you don't want to teach me these, then forget it. After all, this is your unique skill. In the future, you will definitely teach little one. This time, Duan Yuhong had to get up even if she didn't want to. Little one was her precious daughter. She had been pampered since she was young and was not inferior to those rich young ladies. It was just that her life at home was not as luxurious as those rich young ladies. However, she gave all the good things to little one. Chapter 2500. It was impossible for Xiao Wen to cook. Her daughter was still smiling. This girl was really naughty. Duan Yuhong yawned and put on her clothes. When she opened the door, she saw Tang Gua standing at the door with her sleeves rolled up. It seemed like she really wanted to learn how to cook from her. Let's go. I'll ask you to make noodles today. The custom here was to knead the noodles with their own flour and roll them out with a rolling pin. Although some people would buy packaged finished products, they all thought that the finished products were not as delicious as the ones they rolled out themselves. When they had time, they would roll the noodles themselves. Moreover, Duan Yuhong chose this because she wanted to rub the wretched girl's cheeks. She originally wanted to rub Tang Gua, but she never expected that she would be the one being rubbed. Auntie Duan, I'm sorry. Did I add too much water? Auntie Duan, I'm sorry. I got flour all over my face. It's all my fault. I'll be more careful next time. Auntie Duan, why is it that the noodles I make are all lumps, but yours are noodles? Auntie Duan, making noodles is really too difficult. I've disappointed you. Duan Yuhong looked at the lumps of noodles in the pot and then looked at the innocent Tang Gua. She was super angry. When I was in the Yun family, so many cooks taught me, but I didn't learn anything. It seems like I really don't have any talent in this area. Duan Yuhong was about to get angry, but when she heard this, her anger was extinguished. This girl grew up in the Yun family. She might even be pitied by the Yun family. She couldn't be angry. I don't even know how to make noodles now. If they know in the future, they might laugh at me. Duan Yuhong understood something. Do you still have their phone numbers? Of course I have to. Tang Gua had a strange look on her face. They raised me for 16 years. I have to greet them during festivals. Moreover, third brother of the Yun family said that if I miss them, I can call them. Although I don't want to disturb them usually, I have to greet them during festivals. Can everything be cut off if I really leave them? Duan Yuhong thought about it and agreed. How could a relationship of 16 years be broken so cleanly all of a sudden? In that case, she really couldn't force her to do anything. She couldn't even get angry. She could only slowly guide her and make her work willingly. The reason why the original owner had never contacted the Yun family was because of the Yun family's attitude. She was very disappointed and sad. In short, she was very sad. Tang Guo was different. Although she didn't go to see them or call them often, she would politely send them a text message or something during festivals. After all, they had lived together for 16 years. Every time there was a festival, they should greet each other. Even ordinary friends would do the same. She would not deliberately target them. As she had said before, she would protect the things she cared about and fight for what she wanted. If the Yun family came to snatch it again, it would depend on whether they could snatch it away. It seems that you really don't have any talent in making noodles. Let me teach you how to cook. Duan Yuhong is not in the mood to sleep now. She has to find a way to teach this girl something as soon as possible. The housework at home depends on this girl. Auntie Duan, the shredded potatoes you cut are really thin. I'm so envious. Chapter 25:01. Why don't the potatoes listen to me when they're in my hands? Why are the shredded potatoes thicker than a finger when I cut them? Duan Yuhong wanted to curse on the spot. Are those shredded potatoes? They're obviously potato strips. I've been training for a while, Duan Yuhong replied with a smile. Her face was gentle, but her chest was about to explode. Damn, she was so angry. What rich young miss. She was just a moron who didn't know anything. Tang Gua, if you don't know, then you don't know. Why do you have to teach me? I already told you I don't know. System, who did you learn to be so eccentric? I'm afraid that one day, the host will be immersed in this character's setting and not be able to walk out. Then let's learn how to scramble eggs with tomatoes. Duan Yuhong took a deep breath. This was the easiest. If she didn't know how to cook, she wanted to die. Auntie Duan, why is my egg paste in the pot? Duan Yuhong turned around and saw the lid on the pot. She couldn't help but ask, what happened? The egg is burnt and it's on fire. I know a little trick. Cover it with the lid and the fire will be extinguished. Tang Guo was a little proud. But you didn't turn off the fire. Duan Yuhong was expressionless as she quickly turned off the fire. Tang Guo's smile disappeared. Sorry, Auntie Duan. I don't know these things, but I'll learn seriously. Duan Yuhong didn't say anything. She opened the lid and looked at the burnt egg. She was about to die from anger. Didn't you add oil? No. No. Didn't you just say to break the egg, stir it with chopsticks, add some salt, stir it again, and finally put the egg in the pot and stir it until it's cooked before adding the tomatoes? I did it according to your instructions. Duan Yuhong rubbed her temples. You have to add oil before cooking. So tiring. There's not enough oil, there's too much oil. There's too much salt. It's burnt. Duan Yuhong worked until 9 in the morning. She looked at the meatball soup in front of her. The meat was all broken and had turned into minced meat soup. There was no salt. She finally gave up teaching Tang Gua how to cook. She didn't suspect that Tang Gua did it on purpose, because Tang Gua was very serious in every step. But for some reason, the results were so different that they were completely inedible. She took a deep breath. She needed to rest. She was still very sleepy. Auntie Duan, sorry to disappoint you. It's okay. Maybe you're not suitable for this. I'll teach you something else another day. She was very sleepy now and had to go back to sleep. Why don't you teach me now? I have to go to school tomorrow. In order to study well, I applied for a dormitory before, so I can only come back once a week. Duan Yuhong almost went berserk when she heard that. She actually applied for a dormitory? How infuriating. Aunt Duan, I have to go to school in the afternoon. I'll teach you when I'm free next time. Duan Yuhong was very sleepy and her eyelids were fighting. She really couldn't take it anymore. Tang Guo saw that the matter was almost settled, so she did not continue to pester him. After lunch, she had to go to school, so she wouldn't be able to meet Tang Lin this time. Sister, I'll send you there. In the eyes of the villagers, Tang Lin was more wild. He often ran around, so Tang Liming and Duan Yuhong really didn't care where he went. Moreover, in the village, even children who were a few years old liked to run around, let alone children who were in their teens. Their village was at the edge of the county, so it was relatively close to the high school. Tang Guo agreed. Not only did she agree, but she also directly brought Tang Lin to a restaurant and had a good meal. Tang Lin sat in the restaurant and looked at Tang Guo, not knowing what to do. Tang Guo reached out and patted his head. If you want to eat meat in the future, come to the school and look for me. I'll take you to eat it. Sister, you have money? Not much, but I'll earn a lot. In the future, I'll have a lot. How? Don't you still have to study? Tang Guo leaned over to Tang Lin's ear. Not everyone has good grades like your sister. I can make money by tutoring them and improving their grades. Pfft, at this moment, a mocking laughter came from the neighboring seat. Peek. Chapter 2502. Tang Guo followed the source of the laughter and saw a few teenagers sitting next to her. The one who whispered was lying lazily on the chair with a cigarette in one hand. When he realized that Tang Guo was looking at him, he took a puff of the cigarette and whistled at Tang Guo. Little beauty, why are you staring at me? Are you fascinated by my handsome appearance? The teenager's smug smile suddenly disappeared because Tang Guo only gave him a look of disdain, as if to say that she really didn't like a pig like him. The look of disdain in her eyes made him lose face. What, am I not handsome? The teenager quickly got up and walked in front of Tang Guo. He asked condescendingly, am I not handsome? The other teenagers behind him also had mischievous looks on their faces. Young Master Cui was their school's most handsome boy and school bully. There were really not many people who looked better than young Master Cui. Ever since he came to this county's high school, no one dared to claim first place if he dared to claim second place. Tang Lin knew Cui Taixin, although Cui Taixin didn't know him. But he often ran outside. Well, when he was picking up trash, he would often see Cui Taixin wandering around with a few people. Anyway, whoever dared to provoke Cui Taixin would be ruthlessly taught a lesson by him. He was lucky enough to see Cui Taixin a few times. When Cui Taixin just came to the county, because he was too arrogant, many people came to find trouble with him in groups. It was in that small alley that a fight broke out between the two sides. In the end, the people who came to find trouble with Cui Taixin were all beaten up by him. Although he didn't know much, he could see from the scene that Cui Taixin's skills were very good. The others were simply a mob and couldn't be his opponent. Tang Lin was very worried. What if Cui Taixin really had some ideas because of his sister's beauty? How could he protect his sister? I've seen people more handsome than you. Tang Guo wasn't afraid of the arrogant teenager in front of her at all. Her gaze swept past the teenager and finally landed behind him. That person is behind you. I think he's much more handsome than you. Who? Who can be more handsome than me? Cui Taixin was a little unconvinced. Ever since he was sent to this small town, he had never seen anyone who looked better than him. They had the genes of the Rome family, so they were definitely good-looking. Few people could compare with them. However, when he turned around, his originally aggressive appearance was immediately deflated. Little uncle. Cui Taishin was a little speechless. Didn't he just come out to eat a good meal? To think that he would bump into his little uncle here. Thinking of his uncle's means, his legs and stomach trembled. He hurriedly put his hand behind his back, holding the unfinished cigarette in his palm, which burned him to death. A young man in his early 20s walked out of the private room of the restaurant. Just as Tang Guo said, the young man's appearance was better than Cui Taishin's. Cui Taishin was still a teenager after all, and he still had a childish air about him. And this young man, whether it was his appearance or his youth, was at his most perfect. The corners of his lips were slightly raised, and he had a pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes. Wearing a white shirt and trousers, he put one hand in his trouser pocket and walked unhurriedly to Cui Taishin. Taishin, you're smoking behind my back again. Cui Taishin looked flustered and hurriedly threw away the cigarette but hidden behind him. Chapter 2503. Little uncle, how come I don't know? You must have seen wrongly. Cui Taishin hurriedly denied it. Now that he had thrown away all the evidence, he raised his head and answered confidently. If he couldn't find any evidence, so what if he was his little uncle? He couldn't accuse him for no reason. The smile in the young man's eyes did not disappear. He pointed at the ceiling with his slender fingers. Do you want me to help you check the surveillance footage of this restaurant and see what you did just now? Cui Taishin cursed in his heart. He raised his head subconsciously and realized that he was facing a camera. His face turned pale. Cui Taishin's expression changed again and again. Finally, he gave a flattering smile. Little uncle, I'm 17 today. I'll be an adult soon. Little uncle, as an adult man, there will always be some troubles. That's why I smoke once in a while to calm myself down. Is that so? This sentence made Cui Taishin very worried. This little uncle of his had sharp eyes. Ever since he was young, no matter what he did, he couldn't hide it from his eyes. He was only a few years older than him, but he was treated like grass by the whole family while his little uncle was the treasure of the whole family. You smoke to calm your troubles. Then your troubles are that you're still in the first year of high school at the age of 17, and that a 17-year-old first year of high school student is actually the last in class? The young man's expression seemed to always be the same. There was a faint smile on his lips as if he was someone who didn't change his expression. The smile in his eyes seemed to be able to see through anyone's disguise. Tang Guo realized that after the young man said that, Cui Taishin's face flushed red. His voice was very soft, but Tang Guo still heard it clearly. Little uncle, I don't want it. Face? Let me tell you, you'd better. Cui Taishin's expression was very angry, but when he saw the young man's smile, he let out a long sigh and his voice became even softer. It's fine if you talk about me at home, but at least give your nephew some face outside. I'll be 18 next year. My brothers are still there. How can I establish my authority in front of them in the future? After Tang Guo heard it, she laughed out loud. She laughed out loud. She laughed out loud. When Cui Taishin heard this, he turned around and glared at her. What are you laughing at? Besides, not only do you litter, but you've also learned to be fierce to girls. Do you want to stay in this small county for the rest of your life? The young man's words made Cui Taishin curl his lips. In the end, he lowered his head and muttered, If I don't want to go back, then so be it. There's nothing wrong with this small county. Anyway, in that family, I'm not valued. I'm not even as good as that illegitimate son who's older than me. Are you willing? Of course he was unwilling. If he was willing to accept all of this, he wouldn't have caused such a ruckus. There wasn't a single good person in the Chui family. If not for the fact that his father had cheated on his mother's feelings and had an illegitimate child with someone else before they got married, he would not have been able to hide it from his mother. His mother was in poor health and passed away when he was very young. Later on, that man actually married someone else very quickly. That woman even brought a child into the house. It was only later that he found out that the child was actually an illegitimate child before their marriage. How could he not be angry? How could he not make a fuss? Unfortunately, his cheap father was too biased. He favored the mother and son in everything. He had no place in the family at all. Chapter 25:04. Pick up the trash and come back with me. After the young man spoke, Chui Taixin really did not want to eat with his brothers anymore. He turned around and picked up the cigarette butt in his hand and followed the young man with a dejected expression. Taixin is not sensible. I apologize to you. I have already paid for the meal. Take it as my apology to you on behalf of Taixin. It's okay. Tang Guo replied with a smile. By the way, I just heard that this little brother is in the first year of high school. Yes. The young man glanced at Chui Taixin, who still wanted to stare at Tang Guo. His grades are not very good. Oh, is that so? Tang Guo's eyes lit up. Then, big brother, are you interested in hiring a tutor for this little brother? The young man originally did not intend to talk much, although the little girl sitting there eating was very attractive. When he came out of the private room, the first person he noticed was her. There was even a moment when he wanted to walk directly to her side. But he quickly sobered up. This was a little girl. What was he thinking about? I have invited countless tutors, but they were all tossed away by him. In this regard, the young man was somewhat helpless. However, I am going to invite a few more tutors for him. There will always be a suitable tutor. Then, what do you think of me? When Tang Guo finished speaking, almost everyone who heard this sentence looked at her in unison. What do you think of her? Is she recommending herself? Tang Guo did not dawdle. She quickly opened her backpack and took out her previous test papers. Do you want to check my grades? Then, she took out her phone and turned it on. Fortunately, the original owner had taken pictures of all her award records and results before. These are my results. The young man looked at the test papers in front of him and gently raised his eyebrows. He took the stack of test papers from the pair of white little hands and flipped through them. These were all the test papers Tang Guo had taken this semester. In fact, at this time, the final exam was approaching. When he flipped through them, the young man's face was full of surprise. Chui Taixin stood on tiptoe to take a look. He also wanted to see what ability this boastful little girl had to dare to be his tutor. However, when he saw that all the papers were full marks, he was so scared that he trembled and almost fell to the ground. What kind of monster was this? How could he get full marks in high school? While the young man was looking at the test paper, Chui Taixin went to look at Tang Guo's mobile phone. Tang Guo did not refuse and directly let him take the mobile phone. Due to some special circumstances, I changed my name. I used to be called Yun Guo, but now I'm called Tang Guo. There's no need for me to lie to you about this. Besides, I've just transferred to the county's #1 middle school. As for whether it's true or not, I'll know once I ask. The young man and Chui Taixin didn't doubt this at all. The young man was just surprised that this little girl was so powerful. Chui Taixin was horrified. Motherfucker, how did this little girl's brain grow? Everything was human, yet the difference was so big. Moreover, judging from his uncle's reaction, he seemed to be a little tempted. I think so. After the young man finished reading, then let's go to the private room to talk about this. Just like this, when Chui Taixin and Tang Lin were both dumbfounded and looking at each other, Tang Guo was invited to his private room to talk about tutoring Chui Taixin. My name is Rong Su. Taixin is my nephew. Chapter 2505. In the private room, Tang Gua and Rong Su discussed how to tutor Cui Taixin. When he heard that Tang Gua had also transferred to the county's #1 middle school, Rong Su said that he would think of a way to transfer Cui Taixin to her class. When the time came, he would ask her to help improve Cui Taixin's grades. "Taixin, if you don't listen, you can call me at any time." After signing the contract, Rong Su even wrote his number to Tang Gua. Tang Gua called him back on the spot. "Okay, if Taixin doesn't cooperate, I can only call big brother Rong Su." Cui Taixin was dumbfounded. Previously, when his little uncle picked the teachers for him, didn't he go through a lot of trouble? Why did he sell him out the moment they met? Not only that, he even wanted to transfer him to her class. Wasn't her class the top class? It wasn't good for him, a bad student, to go to that kind of top class, right? Also, she had called him little brother before. How did it become Tai Xian classmate now and call him little uncle Rong Su big brother? "I'll hire you for a semester first. The basic fee is 10,000 yuan. Currently, Taixin's grades are 5th from the bottom in the whole grade." Cui Taixin was really angry. He had already told his uncle not to always say that his grades were at the bottom. Didn't he feel embarrassed to have such a bad student as his nephew? There are more than 800 students in the whole grade. Outside of the top 500, you will be paid 3,000 yuan for every increase in rank. From the top 500 to the top 200, you will be paid 5,000 yuan for every increase in rank. From the top 200 to the top 50, you will be paid 8,000 yuan for every increase in rank. From the top 50 to the top 10, you will be paid 10,000 yuan for every increase in rank. Cui Taixin was completely stunned. Was his uncle really willing to spend so much money just to improve his grades? However, he really wanted to tell him not to work hard in vain. He really didn't do it on purpose. He also wanted to study hard and improve every day to get good grades. However, he was born with a problem with the subjects he studied. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't learn. When he saw those words, he felt dizzy. Therefore, although the reward was high, no one could successfully help him improve his grades. He was only able to get 5th from the bottom because a few of his buddies were in other classes and deliberately got behind him. However, Rong Su didn't seem to care about this. The topic continued: if you can help Tai Xian get closer to the top 10, below the 5th place, 100,000 for each place. From the 5th to the 3rd place, 200,000 for each place. The 3rd place, 300,000 for each place. The 2nd place, 500,000 for each place. Cui Taixin was speechless. He really wanted to say, "Little uncle, don't waste your efforts." Tang Lin was also stunned. He was sitting at the side and counting with his fingers. It was 10,000, 100,000, and 1,000,000 at every turn. He was a little dizzy now. After picking up trash for so long, he had only managed to save less than 1,000 yuan. Thinking of this, he felt a little disheartened. Tang Gua noticed that Tang Lin seemed a little unhappy. She touched his head and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong? Are you not full?" "No." Tang Lin quickly shook his head. After hesitating for a moment, he whispered, "Sis, is it true that tutoring can earn so much money?" "It's true, but it has to be completed." Tang Lin let out a long breath. His sister was really amazing. She was smart, beautiful, and knew how to earn money. She definitely wouldn't be bullied. "Okay, I'll try my best." Tang Gua smiled indifferently. "Although I may not be able to help the 1st place, I can still help Tai Xian to improve to the 2nd place." Chapter 2506. Why? Cui Taixin asked subconsciously. Although he thought that Tang Gua was bragging, he thought that it would be very difficult to remind him of the top 10 rankings, let alone the 2nd place in the grade. "Because I want to get 1st place," Tang Gua answered matter-of-factly. I took first place, so you can only get second place. When Rong-su heard this, his smile became more obvious. He didn't think that there was anything wrong with Tangua's words. Indeed, with the excellent results she had shown, it would be easy for her to get first place. Even if Taishin studied for 10 lifetimes, he wouldn't be her match. Alright, pretend I didn't ask. Cui Taishin pursed his lips. Although your results are indeed good, it's a fool's dream if you want to help me improve my results. Do you know why my uncle gave you 10,000 yuan a semester? It's because he knows me too well. I'm not a smart person who studies. All kinds of teachers say that I'm rotten wood that can't be carved. Cui Taishin's smug look made Rong-su say, "You're getting more and more depraved. You're actually so happy that you're a piece of rotten wood." Actually, Rong-su was also trying. Cui Taishin's situation was indeed very special. He couldn't learn at all. He was clearly very smart, but no matter what subject it was, as long as he looked at it, he would have a headache. It had been like this since he was young. It could be said that this was also a strange reason why Cui Taishin was willing to degrade himself. Previously, he had invited famous teachers. He wanted to try all of this. He didn't know if it would be useful to invite a little classmate with good character and learning to help. No, his situation is different from Su Shi's. He's enlightened, but he can't accept the knowledge of the outside world. Let's put it this way, this can be considered a mental illness. It's his own biological heart that rejects these things. It's a habit that he developed after birth. He can't learn anything now. Isn't his name Cui Taishin? Tongzi, why don't you go back and look at the plot? The system hurriedly went back to look at the plot. As expected, it found Cui Taishin in the plot. After reading this person's experience since he was young, he finally understood. He thought that the host was only interested in teaching Cui Taishin because he was interested in Rong-su and needed a way to earn money. After reading Cui Taishin's character, he overwrought his previous thoughts. Cui Taishin also had some weight in the original plot. However, he was rather unlucky and miserable. He appeared in the plot as a clown. In the storyline, he was an ignorant and incompetent good-for-nothing. In the storyline, he had always been in a hopeless state living in this small county. He was the kind of person who had been abandoned by his family. However, he would occasionally return to the main camp. During a banquet, he was played by the male lead's opponent. He got drunk and was sent to Yun-Yi's room. He mistakenly thought that Yun-Yi was a small family that wanted to curry favor with him. Before he could do anything, he was taught a lesson by Cui Bing, who rushed in. Not only was his leg broken, but he was also expelled from the Cui family. He spent the rest of his life in this small county. Chapter 2507. If that's the case, I want to make a wish too. The system said excitedly. Tangua's lips curled up. Do you want to make a wish that you can have an official number in the future? The system was very embarrassed. It had been seen through again. Alright, I'll allow it. Our little Tongzi will definitely have an official number in the future. The system was crazy with joy. It was the host. One day, its wish would definitely come true. Although it would occasionally send emails to the 3 2s and 3 1s, the other party said that the boss of the Spacetime Bureau had not returned yet, so there was no hope of applying for a number. After everything was settled, Rong-su sent Shui-su and Tangua to school. Tangua also asked him to help her send Tang Lin back. At the same time, she gave Tang Lin some money and told him to hide it well. He could buy whatever he wanted, but it was best not to buy anything that could be seen. It was also because Tang Lin was smart that she dared to do this. She planned to rent a house outside the school when she was free and let Tang Lin come here occasionally. When Tang Lin entered junior high school, it would be much more convenient. There was an attached junior high school. When the time came, Tang Lin would also live on campus. Everything would be easy. Cui Taixin wanted to slip away, but in the end, he was stopped by Tang Gua. I just told Big Brother Rong Su that you will live on campus too. This way, you will have more time to make up lessons. He should ask someone to send your daily necessities over later. Cui Taixin pointed at Tang Gua and gritted his teeth. Alright, you win. Then, he turned around and walked into the school. Tang Gua followed behind him. Taixin, do you really not want to improve your grades? I heard that you are the school bully of this school. Don't you want to be called a top student? Cui Taixin stopped in his tracks and turned around to glance at her. Although I know you're encouraging me, what I want to say is that you don't have to waste your time on me. Your grades are so good, why don't you participate in the quiz and try to get 2 more points for the college entrance examination? But I have to teach you since I've taken the money. If you don't listen, I can only call the boss who paid the money. What do you want? Cui Taixin pursed his lips. He was a little annoyed. Did he really not want to get good results? However, so many great teachers had tried, but none of them were able to teach him. He was like a piece of rotten wood that could only be burned as firewood. I just want to tutor you. Why don't you give it a try? What if I succeed? If I succeed, I'll get a lot of money, and you'll get both fame and fortune. If you don't try, how do you know you won't succeed? Tang Gua had already taken out the teaching materials and notebooks from her backpack. Why don't we find a clean place and try it now? If you can understand what I'm saying, wouldn't that be great? Cui Taixin, of course, wanted to become outstanding. He was even more indignant that the Cui family was controlled by an illegitimate child. However, he himself was too terrible. He didn't have the ability to compete with the other party. That illegitimate child was really outstanding. Thinking of this, he felt extremely dispirited. However, when he saw the teaching materials in Tang Gua's hands, he thought of his little uncle. He had never given up on him, and was the only person who had never given up on him. That was why he could tolerate his little uncle's insulting of him anytime and anywhere. Because only his little uncle would treat him so well. Alright, I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, you can't blame me. I'm like this. There's no saving me. Although his words sounded like he didn't care, Cui Taixin still brought Tang Gua to a quiet place. When Rong Su brought people to deliver daily necessities to Cui Taixin and found their lives, Cui Taixin was lying on the edge of a flower bed with his butt sticking out. His hand was pressed on a notebook, and he had a serious expression on his face. When she saw him, she placed her index finger on her lips, indicating for him not to make a sound. Rong Su nodded and walked gently to her side. After thinking for a while, he took out his phone and typed, "Is Tai Xian doing the questions?" Yes, student Tai Xian is very smart. He understood it with just a little bit. System, you've already used an illusionary sound technique on him. How can he not understand it with just a little bit? So rough, as expected of the host. Rong Su was a little surprised. Understood it with just a little bit? He suspected that his nephew had been seen through. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.